Last I checked, on virtually every statistic measuring quality of life, Alabama ranks at or near the bottom. We are one of the worst places to live in the entire developed world if you are an average working person.
Adam, you live in Athens, Alabama, and so you read some of the local news there. And there was an article that came out in the local news that you were really excited about. You know, you're a big Five Guys fan, and this article really spoke to you from that place, right?
Sure, yeah. So I occasionally try to keep my eye on local news. Athens is a small town about 35-40 minutes west of Huntsville, for those of you not local. It's a growing, very fast-growing city. Much of its overflow growth from Huntsville. But growing rapidly. Limestone County is the fastest-growing county in the state. So, anyway, I'm trying to keep my eye on the local news as well as Huntsville, since that's kind of the big metro in the area. But I saw something in the Athens News Courier, the local paper, that was really interesting to me, a fascinating article. It says, "Back on track, Athens weighs in on state workforce development." So it opens by saying Alabama ranks head and shoulders above several other states in workforce development and property tax stability, and the results are evident in Athens, according to both a city official and the Alabama Industrial Development Training. As new businesses and restaurants prepare to make way in the city's limits, such as Texas Roadhouse and Five Guys, Athens Mayor Ronnie Marks has seen the growth of Alabama's economic development firsthand. All right. So I think that's interesting that your example of economic development are two chain restaurants, Texas Roadhouse, Five Guys. It continues, "It takes years to turn something like this around and become a place where businesses want to be." Athens Mayor Ronnie Marks told the News Courier, "AIDT and others have done a tremendous job in getting us back on track as a state." Now that's interesting, because I've heard a lot of politicians over the last couple of years make a lot of noise about Alabama's workforce participation rate. So if our workforce development is so freaking great, why is our workforce participation rate 6 percentage points behind the national average, right? Why is Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth and all these people talking about it all the time? That people need to go to work, right? Governor Kay Ivey famously said people need to get off their fannies and go to work in response to Alabama's low workforce participation rate. But here they are in this local paper bragging that our workforce development, top notch. Well, makes me wonder, maybe there's more to workforce participation than simple development and retraining, right? Maybe there are real reasons and barriers preventing people from fully participating in the workforce. And it's not just that they need some, retraining class. Maybe it's a little deeper. So, we've got the beautiful, wonderful, amazing economic development happening as evidenced by two chain restaurants, which, by the way, the article does not tell you. You've got to find this elsewhere, that the city of Athens paid over $1 million for these two chain restaurants. Now, in fairness, there are two little chains connected to those two bigger chains. So it's 4 chain restaurants that they paid over $1 million for. That's going to take several years to recoup, according to their own estimates, if everything goes well, right? Now, I'm not sure if there's any strings attached to these subsidies. No mention of that. We're not really sure, but it's going to take at least 5 to 6 years for one of these deals to pay off. Another 2 to 3 years for the other deal to pay off. And like I said, a total of over $1 million. $900,000 for one development, $180,000 for another development. Right? And the city council agreed to these incentives where it pays back to the developer 100% of city sales tax until this total is reached, or for 5 years, whichever happens first. So the city pays over $1 million for 2 chain restaurants, calls it economic development, and our workforce development is supposed to be top notch, even though it's not reflected in workforce participation. And then they continue to say that according to area development rankings from areadevelopment.com, Alabama ranked number 1 in the nation for its low property tax rates, making way for businesses looking to expand to the state. And Mayor Marks said that's certainly a great recognition to have accomplished. He speaks to all the great economic development projects from Montgomery, along with the governor and her supportive staff, which have made Alabama an extremely competitive business environment. The rising tide floats all ships. So when the state gets better, all of us here get better as well. Now, that's interesting.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
So, number 1 in the nation for low property tax rates. And that's supposed to be a great recognition. Now, last I checked, correct me if I'm wrong, Jacob, do we rank number 1 in quality of life?
No. Nope.
You know, do we rank number 1 in infant mortality?
No. Well, I mean, what do you mean? Do we have the most babies die? Probably.
Okay, then yes. All right, fair enough. Yeah.
It's not good. Not good to be number 1 in infant mortality.
Right, actually. Right. Yeah, last I checked, on virtually every statistic measuring quality of life, Alabama ranks at or near the bottom.
Right.
Right. We are one of the worst places to live in the entire developed world if you are an average working person. I know that may be a little controversial to say, but if you think about it, think about the full spectrum of a person, the public services we rely on, our health, our infrastructure, our economy, our wages, our poverty, right? It's all there. Alabama ain't doing so great when it comes to everyday people, right? So maybe there's a correlation between having the lowest property tax rates and the fact that we have some of the worst public services in the entire country. Sometimes you get what you pay for. Governor Ivey stated in this article, "We are committed to creating a business-friendly environment that supports growth and innovation." Alabama's strong commitment to workforce development and favorable tax policies positions us as a prime destination for businesses seeking to thrive, said AIDT. So that's really interesting. Love it when the local media does puff pieces for the politicians and misleads the public.
Right.
Because they did mention that this supposedly outstanding workforce development is not translating into outstanding workforce participation. It is not translating into outstanding wages or benefits or health outcomes. It's not translating. So, yeah, I was not a big fan. Can't say I approve. I did reach out to the mayor and to my city councilman just to chat. Would you believe they have not responded to me?
Wow.
I got a special, like, my gears really are grinding when public officials do not respond to their constituents.
Especially when it's like city councilors. Like, of any,
if President Biden can't answer my call,
exactly,
I can kind of understand.
Yeah.
He might be busy. Now, he personally may actually not be that busy. I don't know. Not anymore. Right. But, in general,
yeah,
the lower the office, the more responsive I expect you to be.
Exactly.
You ain't representing that many people.
Yeah. And then of the people that you represent, significantly fewer of them know that you are their city councilor and would be reaching out to you than know who the president is, right? So, like, the amount, so if you're a city council person, county commissioner, school board member,
you should respond to your constituents.
Every single message that you get from your constituent, unless it's just like a completely belligerent kind of, harassment type of stuff. You should be responding to everything. And my assumption is not that you were belligerent.
I was not. It was a very politely worded email. So was my follow-up email. Also, still polite.
Yeah.
I'll maintain that. But yeah, that's a very frustrating thing. I don't like when local media gives cover to this kind of crap. I don't like when politicians, spend our tax dollars to bring in a chain restaurant and call that economic development. Oh, wow. Tens of jobs.
Right.
Tens of jobs.
Tens of
minimum
the worst
wage
jobs tens of the worst jobs that you could possibly bring. Like, what job is going to pay people less than a restaurant
server
job?
And a busboy. Right. Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
I can't even think of a job that would have fewer benefits and lower wages that you would try to bring than a restaurant. I mean, that's
right. And I'm
absurd.
all for new restaurants in town. Don't get me wrong. Like, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's quality of life improvement. You could sell that better than economic development.
Right. Yeah. And in the other article I found from Quad Cities Daily that actually did spell out those incentives, the city was bragging that they also supported some local restaurants. And I thought, okay, well, that's good, because that was also one of my concerns. Like, what about the local folks? Like, people who are going to keep that money in the community? Whatever you want to say about small business owners, blah, blah, blah. At a certain level, I would rather the owner live in town, right? And spend their money in town. So I thought that could be something promising. Well, what they were bragging about was grants from Athens Main Street, the, city adjacent nonprofit or whatever, that were a fraction of the incentives they gave to the chains. They gave a $20,000 grant to Rose Grill there to expand outdoor dining, which, fine. But it's just really interesting to me that, developers bringing in chain restaurants are getting these massive incentives. Are there strings attached? Are we looking at the impact of the environment? Are we looking at the impact on the economy? What about all these folks who are paid less than living wages? Are they going to qualify for food stamps? Are they going to get other public services? Are we actually, in effect, subsidizing these businesses twice, both in their low wages and in the very construction and operation of them? I don't know. Maybe there's just other ways to do economy.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah, well, and final thought on this, your city councilman, he might end up regretting snubbing the political committee chair of the North Alabama Labor Council.
He just might.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.
Which side are you on?